Hello everyone. My name is Dr. Sneha Roo. I'm a palliative physician and the founder of Orikalankini. Orikalankini is an organization that's changing narratives around menstruation and sexuality in India. So we have these Zoom series called Leaning into the Network, where people from different pockets of our network are coming together to meet each other through Skillshare. And today we have the founder of our partner organization, Feminism in India, to talk about cybersecurity. I'll leave the floor to Japleen now. Japleen, please take over.
Thank you so much, Sneha, for giving me this opportunity and introducing me. Hi, everyone. My name is Japleen Pasricha, and I'm the founder director of Feminism in India. It's an online feminist media platform. We operate out of New Delhi, and our organization works at the intersection of media and advocacy, where we publish an online magazine talking about the socio-economic, political issues from a feminist lens in 2 languages, English and Hindi. We also create a lot of multimedia content like posters, videos, infographics, GIFs, and memes. And we also run strategic digital advocacy campaigns with brands, with corporations, with NGOs, and other social justice organizations. Today, I will be talking about online violence against women and digital safety. Before that, I will share my screen. Okay. So as you can see, this project's name is Digital Hifazat. It is a campaign run by my organization FII. And in 2016, in 2016, I was part of a research project where I surveyed 500 women on the kind of online abuse and harassment that they face on social media and other technology-enabled violence. So the campaign demands a safe and secure internet for all, and it looks into the specific online abuse and harassment that women and marginalized communities face on social media websites. The research included 500 women. A survey was sent to these women, and out of those 500 women, we interviewed 10 of them for qualitative research. We also looked into existing media reports of high-profile women like journalists and politicians and the kind of online violence that they have faced. These are the findings from our survey. So starting from the left, as you can see, most of the women said that they have experienced some form of online violence. This online violence could include abuse and hate speech, derogatory comments about their gender, their sexuality, their character, their family, and their children, and mass trolling, which could go on for days. Another interesting thing that I would like to point out here is a lot of people disagree with the term online violence, because the argument is that since it's happening on the internet, it's not actually real violence, because violence is always associated with physical violence. However, we would like to bust that myth, because as you can see in these research findings, women have reported that the effects of these online violence have been really detrimental on their mental health. They had to face public defamation, and they also self-censored themselves, either by going off the social media entirely, or by changing the way that they write and post about their opinions, or protecting or locking their accounts. And mostly we have noticed a trend that women who speak about topics like women's rights, social justice, government politics, and religion face the most violence. So this also throws light on that if women post their opinions on critical issues, that is a problem, and that's when they receive the most violence compared to when they are posting about generic stuff. Most of this violence came from people identifying as men. Women also reported that although they tried to use the help of social media websites, they didn't really receive a great response. And they said that the privacy policies on social media websites need to be stronger. They need to have more options to report and block, and also easier to implement. Most of the women said that they use the block button frequently to report this kind of online violence. Some of them also report it to the social media platform, and many do not take any action. Lastly, women mostly do not go to the cyber cell because they feel that their issues are not taken seriously. The police is not aware of this kind of violence, especially which is technology enabled. They feel that it is embarrassing or that it's a waste of time because they believe that nothing will come out of this. So as we see, online violence is actually a very serious issue, and we have seen that it has detrimental effects. And women face, both men and women face online violence, but the kind of violence that women face is very gendered in nature. It means that women are targeted on their gender identity, on their sexual identity, and the kind of threats that they receive are rape and death threats. People threaten to take legal action against them, or threaten to put their families and their children in danger. So before we go into the more technical part of this session on digital safety, I first want to make it clear that the internet is a public space. How when we talk about street and sexual harassment, we always say that the streets are public spaces and everyone has the right to go out on the streets. And we also say that when there are more women in public spaces, in public transportation, then the space becomes safer for other women. So the same logic can be easily applied to the internet, because internet is also a public space and everyone has the right to be on the internet. Hence, it's extremely important for women to occupy these digital spaces, to make their voices heard, because only then will these spaces become safe for other women and marginalized genders. Now we will go into the basics of digital security for everyone, and especially for women, young women who are using social media and other forms of technology for their work and in their personal lives. So the first and foremost important thing is passwords. Passwords are like our first line of defense, and it is extremely important that we have a strong password, because if your password is compromised, then your entire account is compromised. So to ensure that we have a strong password, we need to keep it long and ensure that any kind of information which can be identified back to us. So for example, our nicknames, pet names, our birthday or anniversary date, or home address, mobile number, any kind of information which is identifiable and can be associated back to you should never be a part of your password. So your password should always be something random. If you are a person who is multilingual, then use those skills and make your password a mix of 2 or 3 languages that you know. And remember that you need to understand what you have written and not forget. You should definitely use a mixture of upper and lowercase letters. and also special characters like hash, @ etc. You can also use password safes like LastPass. What these safes do is they create passwords for you, so you don't have to create a password, and the passwords that they create are very long and complex. And you just need to create one master password to this safe, which includes all of your passwords. So this is also a safe way to have difficult and complex passwords, and you only have to remember one password and not all of them. However, when you are creating passwords, it's also important to remember that no password should be used twice. That means that each and every account that you create should have a different and unique password. And also, one should change their passwords after every 3 or 4 months. So every password that you create should have a life of maximum 4 months, and after that, you should change your passwords. So you can use a password safe like LastPass, which will create passwords for you, which are complex in nature. And also keep a reminder for yourself that after every 3 to 4 months, you have to change your password. It goes without saying that you never give your password to anyone. It's something which is very private and personal for you. In our report, we also found out that a lot of women share passwords with their boyfriends, husbands, or any other kind of male authority, or they're forced to share their passwords. This is extremely dangerous because, especially in cases of young relationships, when things go south, we have seen cases of revenge porn where the young man who is now, a jilted lover, does not want that the woman talks to any other person or leaves him. So he may blackmail the woman because he has access to her accounts and passwords, and use their private images or pictures on pornographic websites. This is commonly known as revenge porn, or a more appropriate term would be image-based sexual violence. So to ensure that your accounts are not compromised, never share your passwords with anyone, or keep passwords which are easily associated with you. Coming to the second line of defense is two-factor authentication. This is a second step, or another step that you can use to ensure that your accounts are safe and secure. So most of the websites like Facebook, Twitter, Google, Instagram have this option to enable 2FA or two-factor authentication. What it will do is, after you enter your password to log on into your account, it will send you an OTP to your registered mobile number. And then you have to enter the OTP, and only then will you be able to sign in into your account. This is a more protective way of securing your accounts, because even in a situation where your password is compromised, the probability of your phone also being compromised is low. So if by any chance somebody is able to hack your password, you still have your phone with you, which will send you the OTP, and this way you will also get to know that somebody is trying to sign in into your account. So then you can quickly change the password. So this is a really important step, and everybody should enable two-factor authentication on their accounts and keep their phones always with them, and also have a password on the phone, so that if your password is if your computer password is compromised, then at least your phone is with you and you can still retrieve your account. Another option that you can do is you can set alerts to when a device which is not recognized by your account signs in into your account. So most of us use a personal phone and a personal laptop. So you can make those devices recognizable for your Google account or for any other accounts like Facebook, Twitter. And then these accounts will identify any device which is already not registered with them. So if somebody is trying to sign in into your account from their own device and that is not identified with that account, they will send an alert to you, and this way you will get to know that somebody is trying to sign in into your account. You may also sometimes be in a position where you don't have your laptop or your mobile with you, and you may sign in from a friend's account or from a cyber cafe. Even then, they will send you a notification saying that somebody has signed it into your account. So it's a good way to check that this process works when you yourself sign in from a different account, and it will give you a notification if somebody is trying to sign in. So the most important thing to remember here is to use this option only if you have your personal devices. If you share a computer or a laptop with someone, then do not use this option for your computer. Most of us have our mobiles are mostly personal, so you can definitely have this option for your mobile phone, and you can have it for your laptop if it's a personal laptop. Now, coming to social media and their privacy and community policies. Most of us, when we create an account on social media websites, we never make the effort to actually go through their privacy settings and the community guidelines. However, it's extremely important that we see what are the options that this platform is giving us to make our accounts secure. How much public do I want to go? How much personal do I want to keep? So for example, Twitter and Instagram have two options where you can either have a protected account or a public account, right? However, Facebook, for example, has many privacy settings, and you can always choose which post you want the public to see and which post you want only your friends to see, or you can also create a custom list of your friends and or family members, and you only want them to see this post. There's also an option on Facebook to lock your profile picture and lock your profile in general. This way people cannot see any kind of personal information about you, where you went to school, where you went to university, where you live, who are your family members or siblings or spouses on Facebook. So it would be really good if all of us, when we create a new account or on our existing accounts, we go to the privacy settings of each and every platform that we use and understand what are the options that we have. For example, on Twitter, you can mute notifications on a particular thread or a tweet, or you can mute certain words, or you can have a quality filter in the notifications by which you will receive notifications only from certain kind of people who have, for example, confirmed their email address or their mobile number, or who do not have or who have a complete profile, and some people who don't have a complete profile, you will not receive notifications from them. On Instagram, also you can customize who sees your story. You can either show it to everyone if you have a public profile, or to only your friends, or you can protect and lock your profile. So there are many options that these platforms offer, and especially if you are someone who is at risk, at threat from trolls or family violence, then it's definitely important that you understand what are your options and how you can secure your accounts before using them. Now we will go through some small tips on how we can, how to understand what security means, especially holistic security. So the first and foremost is that we should be mindful of what we are posting. A lot of us, especially people working in advocacy and in the NGO sector, a lot of us use our social media for activism, for social good and change. And hence, we need to keep our profiles public. I myself have my Twitter profile public and my Facebook profile semi-public. However, my Instagram profile is private. And this is something that I've chosen to do, where I make sure that my public profiles do not post personal information about me, about my family, or pictures of me that I do not want to be out in the public, and that I only post in my private profile. So it is upon us to understand how we are using a certain social media platform, what is the purpose, and what information we would like to keep public, and what information we would like to keep private. We should make sure that our privacy settings are updated, go through the privacy settings, as I said before, and also update the apps. A lot of times there are new features in the apps, and you need to keep your apps updated for them to be secure. In the privacy settings, again, you have the options to option to maintain anonymity, where you can choose that nobody can search you via your email address and your phone number. So that's also an option if you want to keep your profile personal. And Facebook also allows you from which browser you have logged in, and which browser you have logged out of. So again, that's an option where if you want to see if somebody else is trying to log in into your profile. You can also ensure that social media websites cannot personalize ads or track you online. For this, you have to go to your Facebook ad preferences. A lot of times what we also do is when we go to certain websites, there's an option of social login, which means that you can log in via your Facebook or Google account. And we use this feature because it's much easier to just log in via a Google account instead of creating an account on each and every website, which can be an exhausting process. And although it is easy to do it, however, that gives this platform and also the login account that you're using access to more data and information about you. So when you are using the login feature, I have a couple of suggestions. One is, especially when you're using Facebook, go to the apps setting on your Facebook profile and see what kind of data and information this certain app that you have logged into via Facebook is getting. And there, at times, there are options to change that setting. So maybe you just want them to see your email address and that's about it. A lot of times these apps get access to your contact book because they want to advertise it to all of your contacts and friends and family members. You can turn this feature off. Another hack that I use is that I have one Google account which I use for this kind of purpose, to social login onto other websites and apps. And I don't use this Google account for anything else. I don't have any kind of personal information on that Google account, and any kind of data which would, give more insight into my life or my work. So this way I am, managing what kind of information and data I am giving to social media and technology companies. It's not a short way, but it will help you to reduce the kind of information you are giving to them. Don't let social media websites track your location. So we have a habit of keeping our location feature and Bluetooth feature always on our phones. That's not advisable. When you are not using the location feature or the Wi-Fi feature or the Bluetooth feature, please turn them off, because access to public Wi-Fi's is also not a secure way, and your phone can be hacked, or a virus can enter your phone. If you keep your location on, then most of the apps in your phone which have access to your location know where you are, and that is not secure. And it also then they send you ads based on your location and personal interests. So ensure that when you are not using these features, then they are turned off. When you are tagging photos or location on your Facebook profile, ensure if you are someone at risk, then you may want to consider tagging your location. Or if you don't want people to know where you are, or you don't want the corporations to know where you are, then you have to reconsider this decision of tagging pictures and location on your Facebook and Instagram profiles. Next, we will come to browser extensions and browsers in general. So a lot of us mostly use Google Chrome. However, from a security point of view, Mozilla's Firefox is recommended. It's open source software and is recommended by most digital security experts. If you are still using browsers like Google Chrome or Opera, then there are multiple extensions that you can use to hide your activity and ensure that your data is not tracked by each and every website that you visit. So some of the browsers are Privacy Badger, uBlock Origin, Disconnect Me, HTTPS Everywhere. The last browser, HTTPS Everywhere, is extremely important because that makes every website that you are visiting secure. Most websites do have the HTTPS certification, but a lot of them don't, and that means that those websites are not secure. So when you are visiting an unsecure website, then it's extremely important that you have this extension on your browser, so that even though the website is unsecure, you still have that browser to protect your data and your account. For mobiles, also you can use Firefox, Firefox Focus and Firefox for Android. And if you would like to browse anonymously, you can use the browser Tor. However, it is to be noted that this is not a private browser. There are various VPNs that you can use for private browsing. However, good VPNs are not free, and they cost something. There's another browser that you can use, which is called DuckDuckGo, which is also which also does not track your data. Now we will talk about sexting. If somebody doesn't know what sexting means, it means texting someone with sexual intentions or sexual information or data. Sexting, before we get into the technical parts of sexting, first of all, I want to talk about that it is extremely important that sexting is seen as a sexual activity, and when it comes to sexual activity, it is extremely important that we take consent from the person whom we are sexting, or if we are sending our pictures or receiving pictures, it's extremely important that we take their consent. So like any other sexual activity, consent is paramount. And as a feminist website, which is sex positive, we encourage people to use safe sexting. And for this, in today's time, a lot of us, use online dating apps and meet people on these kind of apps and websites, which is great. However, we need to ensure that we are keeping ourselves secure when we are meeting people over these apps and sending private information, private pictures to them. So here are some of the tips that you can use when you are sexting. First is that you would not want to include your face or any kind of identifiable features like tattoos, birthmarks, or furniture. You can also use apps like Obscura Cam, which obscures some part of your picture so that it is not identifiable back to you. This is important in case your pictures land onto pornographic websites so that they cannot be identified back to you. When you are sexting, use only secure apps. Apps like WhatsApp, Facebook, and SMS to exchange nude photographs are not secure. Even though WhatsApp does talk about encrypted chats, however, they do not have the option of self-destructing messages or blocking screenshots. WhatsApp does have end-to-end encryption, but because once you have sent that message, you cannot take it back. It is better to use apps like Signal, Confide, Dustap, Wicker, or Snapchat, which have features like self-destructing messages or which block screenshots. So you are in control of how long you want the other person to see your message, if you want them to keep a copy of your photograph, or if you want to send the photograph only for a certain time period and want the photograph to then self-destruct. So then it's important to explore apps which have these kind of features. When you are sending your photographs, it is important that you delete your metadata. Metadata is data which is about the photograph. So for example, when it was taken at what time, how many, what is the size of the photograph, how many MBs or KBs. So all of this is metadata, and it again can be used to identify back to you. So you can use apps like EXIF Photo Editor to delete your metadata before you send it. When you are receiving private photographs from someone, never take screenshots or save photos without their explicit consent. When you are sexting, you have to respect the rules of the game, which is consent is paramount. Once you have taken private pictures of yourself, delete that evidence from your phone, because a lot of phones have auto update to their Google accounts or their iCloud, and you don't want a copy of your nude pictures and private pictures on these cloud accounts. So delete the pictures from your phone and from the cloud once you are done. And if you want to keep them, then there's an option of keeping them in folders which are not connected to the internet and which are encrypted and password protected. We will now talk about the Zoom app, which we are using. There have been many incidents of people trying to bomb Zoom conversations and disturb the webinar or the session going on. So we have some basic tips on how we can secure a Zoom account. So first of all, when we are using the Zoom app, we should ensure that we have a unique ID for large public calls, and also that those IDs require a meeting password. When the host is organizing a session, they can create a waiting room so that people do not join before the host. Then there are options to disable screen sharing features for the participants, annotation feature, and the whiteboard feature, so that participants cannot disturb the session or the webinar going on, and cannot use these features to vandalize the session. We can also create an invite-only meeting, which means only those people who are invited will be able to use the sign-in, and that way you will be able to control who is in your Zoom session or call. Once the meeting has started, after giving it a buffer time of 5 to 10 minutes, you can lock the meeting. So again, people won't be able to join once you have locked your meeting. If somebody is vandalizing or Zoom bombing during the session, you can kick them out or put them on hold. So it's always good, especially if you're holding a session, to have a moderator, because if you're the host of the session and the one who is giving the session, you may not have the time and the bandwidth to go through the chats or see who is vandalizing. So it's always good to do it in pairs. So if you are the host and the speaker, then keep a moderator with you who can go through the comment section and see if anybody is creating any kind of nuisance. You can disable people's camera so that they cannot, share the screen or show inappropriate or rude pictures to the session during the webinar. You can prevent that people cannot share GIFs and other files in the chat or images, especially if they're inappropriate. And lastly, you can disable private chat so that people are not talking to each other, but they're only talking to the group. So this option is not in the desktop app, and you have to use it in the web app. Some last tips before we open the floor for questions. So one tip that I personally use is that I have a Google alert on my name. This gives me alerts when my name is being used on the internet, on social media websites, or news websites. This is especially useful if you want to keep a track of if people are misusing your identity and your name. You can also Google yourself, especially on either a new device or on an incognito window, and see what kind of information is available about you. What kind of pictures are there? If there's any private data, your mobile number or an email address that you want to keep private, or your physical address. So it's good to Google information and search information about oneself so that you are aware what is out there about you on the internet. As I had said before, consider having a dedicated email address for all social accounts. So even if that email address gets hacked, you would still be able to do some damage control because that email wouldn't have any kind of important information. So keep your work email or personal email different from this email address. Turn off your location Bluetooth when Wi-Fi when you are not using them. Public Wi-Fi can be very unsecure. Put strong passcodes on your phone and computer and use passphrases instead of passwords. So as we discussed in the very first slide of this session, passphrases are much more difficult to crack, and you can use something which is very random and does not make sense so that it's not easily crackable. And lastly, check your digital shadow. As I said earlier, you can do a reverse search on your personal information and see if it crops up any results for you, and then you can take action from there. So this is the end of today's session on basic digital security tips and tools. I'm available to answer any questions that you may have. Please feel free to post your questions in the comment section below. And you can also reach me on Twitter if you need to. I am at Japna_P, or my email is japleenpasricha@gmail.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Japleen. It was really informative, and it covered both the mindsets that, internet is a public space and online violence is violence and certain things like that, but also gave us very concrete tips and tools to use. And hopefully people who watch this will work on both ends. One, secure themselves, and then advocate for more digital security for the minority group. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sneha. It was really a great opportunity to be on this webinar.
Thank you.